Set that up there, Wayne.
It's got to be a Gatorade.
That's my sponsorship right there. Turn your phones off.
Phone's already ahead of you, freak. Step
You're
ahead.
learning.
I guess I can introduce, starting from this end, Hunter Bailey, senior shortstop, Andrew Heaney, junior left-handed pitcher, Mark Ginther, senior third base, Jared Womack, senior catcher, outfielder, whatever, and Coach Anderson. So just go ahead and ask questions.
Jared, he seems to not know what position you're going to play this year. Do you know what position you're playing?
Not necessarily. It just really depends on how the season shakes out and how we start. You know, we have another good catcher in Victor Romero, who's going to get a lot of playing time as well. And really, we're just going to try to go out there and see what best bats we get in the lineup, and whoever fits in the positions we need him the best, and that's what we're going to do to succeed.
Frankie, you just focus in on some of the newcomers who are going to come in and contribute right away.
You know what? Obviously we've got quite a few. You know, I feel very fortunate. You know, with Mark and Hunter, I think we probably have one of the best left side of the infields, you know, in college baseball. They both guys are really good defensively and swing the bat, and they're back obviously. And then Jared's back. Gabe Widener, you know, he could play some different positions. He did last year, but he could even play more this year. And you know, there's a good chance he'll probably close for us, you know, and some of those things. And so he's played some at second, some at first. Obviously he can play the outfield like he did last year. But he talked about Victor Romero. We have another catcher that's a freshman named Gage Green that could also play some in the outfield. That's a left-handed bat that's a good player. First, like I said, it's kind of up in the air. Second, Gabe could play there. Robbie Ray is a transfer from Cali County. Brandon Bass is from Iowa Western. He could play there also. And then you go in the outfield, we have a freshman named Zach Fish that's got a chance to be one of the better hitters we've had for a while. I mean, he's going to struggle like a lot of freshmen, but has tremendous power and can throw and do some different things. And then we have, you know, some different guys that can go in some different places in the outfield. Jared, you know, he's not kidding. He could play outfield for us. He could play left for us. He got a little worn down at the end of the year last year, and Vic will be able to spell some of that for him and maybe keep them both fresh. Vic's a left-handed hitter too, Romero. Pitching-wise, obviously, Andrew, and we got a transfer from Arizona State named Kyle Otteson that pitched in the rotation last year and is eligible right away, so that's huge right there. Randy McCurry's thrown very well lately. You know, he's finally 2 years outside of the Tommy John surgery, and with Gabe, Blake Barnes has thrown very well, and you know, we've got a new mix of guys that I think we got a chance to pitch to.
How does having so many junior college guys change the dynamic for you as a coach, whether it's teaching or coaching or, you know, changing your schedule, whatever it is?
You know what, John, I like high school guys. I mean, and we all would like to have the greatest high school players if possible. But you know, the way our scholarship thing had played out over the years, you know, we've kind of tried to, you know, some quick fixes, and junior college guys are the way to do that. But we probably have, and these guys can tell you better than I, they've been around it with those guys some now, but we have a really good group of freshmen. And you don't want freshmen to have a huge part. You know, if they do, then you've got too many of them. But we've got 2 or 3 freshmen and 2 or 3 freshman pitchers that have a chance to play for us right away and have impacts on our guys. So it's not just a total influx of junior college guys. And Otteson is kind of an unusual deal in this day and age that he's eligible right away, and it's just because Arizona's not eligible for postseason, and so he can transfer and be eligible.
How's the chemistry for Jared and Mark? How's the chemistry with those junior college guys? From the fall, obviously, you guys got to know them a little bit, and then this spring, how's it coming along?
It's going really good. I mean, all the guys mesh really well. I don't think that will be a problem at all. I mean, we hang out on and off the field. I mean, we have a just really good group of guys, I think, and I think that'll help our performance overall.
Same question for Jared.
I agree with him. You know, this year it was a little different because last year we had a lot of JUCO guys too, and quite a few guys left. And you know, the first few weeks when you get a bunch of new guys in the locker room, we're doing individuals, we're working out. You know, some of the older guys stay together, and the new guys learn to mesh together. But this year, I feel like our whole team really did mesh over the fall, and a lot of us have become, found pretty good friendships. And I feel like we're going to be a good team this year, on and off the field.
Andrew, nice start to the year last year, then you kind of tailed off a bit. Do you feel like you're ready to take, the Friday night role this year?
Yeah, definitely. I was pretty disappointed with how the year ended, personally and as a team. So I feel like this year I should be ready to go and hopefully help lead the pitching staff if I can.
Pitched well in the Cape Cod League this summer. What did that experience do for you?
Oh, it was great. I mean, just being at the field every single day, just playing ball. I mean, just like it, nothing else. Just going out, having fun, meeting good people, and I had a great time. Good competition, so it was good.
Hunter, what's it been like with the position battle at second base, and I mean especially rolling double plays, that kind of stuff, feeling all the guys out?
I mean, not really that big of a deal. I mean, all three of the guys over there, really talented players. So, I mean, obviously Davis Dern, he's a great player. So, but they're learning. So, I think it's coming along good.
Mark, how do you feel about this lineup? I mean, the pitching's there, but as far as the lineup with power, is it a balance of power and small ball that you guys have since we didn't see a fall ball at all?
I think so. Like Coach said, Zach Fish will bring us a lot more power, I think, even at an early age. And we got me and Jared in the middle of the lineup, and then Hunter can be at the beginning or at the end because of versatility with his speed. So I think that speed and power will be really good. And I think Brandon Bass might have a chance to play, and he can small ball for us. And I think, our lineup's really versatile.
Coach, you talked about Randy. Can you kind of just expand on him, how he's looking right now? Like you said, 2 years off Tommy John.
It's always unusual how that's going to play back after you have Tommy John, because some guys come back right away, and some guys it's kind of a 2-year process, and you see that in major leagues. And so, last year his velocity would be good one day, and then, the next time he'd go out, it wouldn't be near what it was. And I think that's a lot of it. There's kind of a yo-yo effect to it. And for the most part, he hasn't had that near as much. And the command, when you come out of it, both physically and mentally, I mean, and with my son, I had to go through the same thing. He just went through Tommy John, and he said the first time you start to throw, you wonder if it's going to just unhinge and come loose, and you have more of a mental block than you do a physical one. And I think that's probably the biggest hurdle to get over. But he was really good the other day in our inter squad, and so that was something good to see.
Frank, I noticed there's a new look out in the field, particularly on the wall, all the accomplishments of the program. Is that kind of something, I mean, you obviously take pride as a player when you look at that. I mean, it's the idea of that, how that came about.
Well, we've been wanting to do some different things, and, with our stadium and how it was going to evolve, and with the athletic village, we've kind of waited and kind of seen what we were going to do, but we decided to go ahead and obviously Cowboy baseball has been good for years and years, and it's evolved. I mean, as you look at it, we tried to figure out exactly what we wanted to do, and see, you're not exactly sure which way you want to go, but we've been in 2 or 3 different conferences and different things over the years, and we want to honor a lot of different people, but and you didn't want to leave anybody out, really. And so we tried to make it as broad spectrum as we could, and honor those people from quite a ways back, and in the Big 8 obviously, and then now in the Big 12.
Coach, you have an idea, or maybe it's too early to ask, but do you have an idea of how difficult the Big 12 might be this season, and where do you think you fit in that?
You know what? It's tough every year, and I think it'll be good again this year. I think from the pitching standpoint and returning guys that have had success, I think we match up pretty well. A lot of it will depend on new guys and how quick they can make a transition. Like I said, we have some quality players, and so we have quality young guys, but you never know. It's who can handle it the quickest, and so we'll see how that happens. We go on the road right away, and we go to Cal Poly, and we've had years, and I don't know about this year, but we'll have years that the first time you get on the plane to fly somewhere and play, for 1 or 2 guys, it'll be the first time they've ever been on a plane. And so road trips and early in the season, I mean, there's a lot of different things going on, a lot of different dynamics, but no, I think we match up pretty well. But the league is always going to be good. I mean, our conference affiliation is really good in baseball, and even with the things that are evolving with our conference, it's always going to be good.
Jerry, you've been catching some of the new guys. What have you seen from Kyle and I guess Randy this year?
Well, catching Kyle, he didn't throw, much through the fall. I caught him the first time he threw, and he didn't feel good. I talked to him about it, but ever since he's began throwing in the spring, he's been lights out. You know, he looks real effortless, and he's got, you know, some really good control with 3 different pitches. And I feel like with him, Heaney, and hopefully McCurry as well, we can really, you know, solidify a weekend, you know, rotation. Randy's been throwing a lot better. He threw a few days ago, and he looked lights out as well. So I think, especially, you know, with those 2, and then Heaney also, they all 3 have a lot of experience. So I think we're going to be really good on the mound.
Frank, you've had a year to kind of analyze the bats from last year. What changes, if any, did you implement, or maybe in your strategies, or looking back on how numbers changed?
You know what? Yeah, I mean, it was obviously a huge deal. I haven't heard anybody this, you know, spring, and really not much in the fall, say anything about the bats. And last year, that's all anybody talked about. They whined about them all the time, and the hitters always talked about them. And I really haven't heard much, you know, this spring at all with any of the stuff. And I think they're a little bit better. I mean, you know, last year they weren't near as good as a good wood bat. And now I think they've changed them enough to where, and the guys know how to handle them. You know, it's been a year, and they know kind of what they're dealing with. Where last year they might hit one that they think, I mean, it's normally going to be out, and it falls 10, 15 feet short of the warning track, and you're kind of going, what happened? But I don't think it's that big a deal now like it was. Obviously, it's changed our game a little bit. I mean, yeah, you're going to have to manufacture more runs, and we've talked about some of our players. We've got an outfielder that's hurt right now that just had a bone taken out of his wrist that I think is going to come back, named Jared Higgins. Might be the fastest kid we've ever had in our program, and he's got a chance. The outfielder's got a chance to do some things on the bases that we haven't had done around here for a while. Now, you can't steal first, obviously, but if he can get on, he can really do some things, and so we've evolved it a little bit, so you have a little bit of both going. But no, I mean, if you hit one, you can still hit it out. And what it does, John, guys like me that look like me don't hit 20 home runs. I mean, you know, used to be, you know, too many guys were hitting home runs, and I think it's better for everybody concerned. It's more fair, and professional baseball obviously likes it better. You know, you don't have to guess so much.
Mark, did you find yourself wondering last year, you know, where did the power go? Or I know you knew it was the bats, but was it frustrating at any point for you?
Yeah, it took a little while to adjust to the bats, and this year I think they're like better balanced. You can definitely tell. I think they're a little better this year, but yeah, last year took a little while to adjust, and I think everyone's just feels a little more comfortable this year because you got 1 year under their belt with those bats. So I think the numbers should be a little up from last year, and just for people being more comfortable with the bats.
You and Mark, you and Jared kind of grinned at each other there at the start of that answer. Is that kind of like, yeah, wish you had the old days. It looked like an old days look.
Yeah, I mean, those bats were, I mean, they were obviously better, but like one day in the fall, I think we took the old bats out, and you could definitely see the difference. But I mean, you just got to play with what you got, and I think we're all adjusted and just ready to move on.
How do you feel about, about things? Obviously, this is important enough. You're back again. I talked to Coach Anderson the other day. I mean, obviously he relies on you a lot and what you bring to the table. How are you feeling going into this?
I'm really excited to be back here for my senior year. I mean, I love baseball and I love playing at OSU. So, I mean, there's not a lot of things better than that. Finishing up my school, almost going to be done with that. So, I mean, there's not a lot of other places I'd rather be right now in spring and playing baseball.
What's the sweet spot like on these new bats? I mean, how they modified? Are they from last year?
You know what? We opened them up, and it looks like giant washers, and they're, normally the sweet spot was probably this big on the old ones, and the washers about this far apart probably.
Size that microphone.
Yeah, and it just kind of muffles them, muffled the ball off the bat, and I mean, it's come a long ways. I mean, obviously, I've been in the Big 12 since the start. We had a 1917 championship game in '97. I mean, that was not good baseball. I mean, so they needed to do something, and I'm surprised it's taken so long to filter down into high school and the little league levels and stuff like that, where you got a 6'12" 12-year-old and a 4'6", 12-year-old, you know, different sizes and things, because it is dangerous. And so, like I said, but I've been a pitching coach for years, so I kind of like it a little bit better.
Frank, you mentioned the big league scouts like it better because they don't have to guess as much. You mentioned the filtering down. How much did you have to guess recruiting?
Well, you know what? Well, this year will be the first year, I think, of the BB Corps in high school, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we did somewhat. It wasn't quite as bad, you know, as the pro people because of the wood bats. But last year we went in, and like I said, we haven't made that much out of it this year. Nobody's really said much about it. But we went in and checked the exit speeds of a good wood bat and one that we used 2 years ago, and then one last year. And the wood bat was better than the bat we used last year, and the other one was about 5 or 6 miles an hour faster off the bat. And so, I mean, there was a big change. But, you know, in I believe it was '97, we were using -5 bats, and guys were, you know, at the old '89er park hitting them 50 feet over the scoreboard out of that thing. And so, you know, it's evolved a long ways back now, you know, where it's probably closer to fair.
But when you've recruited high school guys and watched them play with the more lively bat, how big a change is, you know, on the first day of practice, like, yeah, that guy's not hitting the way. He's not hitting the way we saw him play.
Well, you know what, we saw it last summer a lot of times because some of those select teams went ahead and started using the bats that they're going to use at our level or what they're going to use in high school now, and some of the teams didn't. And you hear you know, if we were using, parents were being in the stands complaining, you know, about if we were using those bats, we'd be beating you guys, and, you know, and jawing back and forth and this and that. But it wasn't too bad. I mean, you can go out and you know, you can see who can play and who can, and the strength, and like I said, who can run and who can't. Like I said, the game's evolved somewhat where we all try to have a little bit more of mix and match of speed and some power.
Coach, you lost two pretty big leaders in Davis and Durant and Dane. Who's kind of stepped up and not necessarily taken those plays, but kind of emerged as a leader that maybe wasn't there last year, maybe is new in the program? You
know, you're looking at most of them right here. I mean, these guys have played a lot of games. They played a lot of games for us and been around a while. And you know what? Like they said, you know, a lot of times, you know, people give lip service to the team chemistry and people liking each other. A lot of times it's lip service. You know, it's not really the truth. You know, but this group seems to get along pretty well, and the coaches like them, and they like the coaches for the most part. And people can say that happens all the time. It doesn't happen all the time. And I think, you know, for the most part, like I said, the new guys that we brought in have come together pretty good. They don't overstep their boundaries. You know, when you first come in, there's kind of a leveling off effect that after a while everything kind of blends in, and then you know, their ability to accept other people. You know, the freshmen, the hardest part they have is learning how to practice. You know, unless they played football in a highly structured football program or basketball, a lot of times, you know, baseball is kind of a roll out the ball and let's play games and that type of deal. Well, it's tough for freshmen coming in because they just never, you know, been in that structured situation. But that's where these guys come in to help guys kind of figure out how it all takes place.
It's been a little better of a preseason, off-season, if you will. I mean, last year at this time there was a 1.5 feet of snow.
Oh, it's you know, something's wrong. You know, it's, but we're getting close, so it's, you know,
Yeah,
it's supposed to snow Monday or Tuesday or Sunday night or something, so we know we're getting close.
Hunter, when you think about this, how crucial is it, do you feel like, for this team with the newcomers involved and everybody to get off to a hot start? Like when you go out to California, you know, for things to kind of click in right away, is that critical?
I mean, I don't know, it kind of is, but just depends on like where we're gonna start going, you know. I mean, if we start clicking at the beginning, that's what we did last year, and we kind of fell off the end. But I mean, it just depends. Really, just what players are hot, when they're hot, and how it goes like that.
So there's some patience and an understanding it's a marathon, not a...
Yeah, definitely.
Coach, you still a little disappointed how last year ended? Yeah,
somewhat, because you know what, we really played at a pretty high level for a long time, and a lot of it was that guys that had not had to be feature guys, or I shouldn't say feature guys, but Brad Props has never got to that number of innings ever in his life, you know, and he wore down a little bit, and guys got wore down in roles. You know, Mike Strong probably threw more innings than he'd thrown for, you know, maybe ever, and so, you know, guys got worn down a little bit. Our bullpen probably wasn't as good as it needed to be to help offset some of those guys where they didn't have to throw those huge amount of innings. And I think that probably, because our pitching, for the most part, until the guys kind of figured out some of the bats, carried us. I mean, you know, we have a 1-0 15-inning game against Texas and 3-1 games, and I mean, there's a lot of shutouts in the conference and different things like that. And so, you know, there's some wear and tear on guys. But yeah, I mean, I thought, as Hunter said, I thought we played, you know, at a real high level and played very well early for about 2/3 of the season. And I'm, you know, to Robert's question to him was exactly right. You know, the Giants were 8-8 win the Super Bowl, you know, right there. You know, it's kind of you look at that deal, and they, by all rights, almost shouldn't have been in the playoffs. And they kind of get it rolling and get it going, and, you know, obviously, you know, almost lost, but they were the best team at the end of the year. And that's when you want to try to get it going. And so, you know, to go to California, now it's not the end all. We want to play well, but try to build that momentum. And like I said, with the new guys, I think it'll take us a while. We're going to have some bumps, and everybody does in baseball.
Where does this year's lineup compare to last year?
I think top to bottom, this is probably better. I mean, you know, we didn't know Zach Johnson was going to be Zach Johnson, and, you know, and those type of things, exactly how good he was going to be at the time. But you know, we expect these guys right here to be better than they've been. And Mark, you know, Mark's one of the few guys that had double-figure home runs in the country last year with the new bats. And Jared, with the ability to have some other guys catch, you know, we can give him some time off. And so I like our lineup. You know, like I said, we got some youngsters that are pretty special, and they're going to struggle at times like freshmen do, but they'll be interesting to watch too.
Was Jason Hurst that had Tommy John in the
Mhm.
offseason? How's his rehab coming along?
It's going good. I mean, he's not going to pitch. I mean, he's a year away, and that was, you know, we hated to see that because, you know, he spent most of the year sick last year. And, you know, I always thought it was mono, but they said, you know, it was, I don't know, some type of strep infection. But and then he was throwing really well in the summer, and we hated to lose that because it's a great arm. You don't have a lot of arms like that that make it to college because of the draft, and so. But it's going good. I mean, he'll come back and you know, he works hard at it, and he'll be good for us. But we're not going to have, unfortunately, not going to have him.
Are there any thoughts to keyholing Gabe Whitenauer in one position, or is he just too valuable?
You know what? It depends on how much we'll pitch him too. To try to, you know, he's been swinging the bat pretty well too, and so, you know, first, you know, it's probably the easiest place to protect him if we put him out on the field or DH him, you know, or. I've been doing this a long time. If you put him out in center field, invariably he's going to get a ball that has to throw with the game on the line at some point. You know, it's just the way things work. But you know, it depends on how good he gets in the outfield too. If we can put him on the bench and DH him maybe at times and stuff like that. But we're going to have to protect him some because we're going to expect him to pitch more than what he did last year.
Mark, what are your expectations with this year's team?
I think we have high expectations. I mean, I think we want to finish better than we did last year. I mean, we want to play well at all times, but I think our goal needs to be like to finish better and just finish at the end of the season like we know how we can, and just have a little postseason success would be nice, unlike last year.
We done? Everybody good?
Hey, you did a great job on that football season.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Look forward to watching you guys.
You know what? You kind of thrust in a tough deal right there, kind of out of.
I started like only before the season.
I know, that's
so
what I
yeah,
mean.
it
You
was
did a good
crazy.
job.
It was fun.